This week on Clip Service, on our little playoff special, the Clippers split the first two games of this first round series against the Mavericks, 1-1 at home. First win was great, or first game was great. Handled business in a noon game. Second one, not so great. So we're going to talk about all of that, give our reactions. Still pretty fresh, but we're going to try and be a little bit rational, be a little positive, because there was some good things to take from that second game, even though it was a loss. So all of that and more coming up. So without further ado, let's make it happen.
What's up, Clipper Nation?
Why are you always laughing at me?
And welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube, and also make sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. I'm Rolla, and this is the co-host Nick. Let's get right into it.
Let's
Playoff version.
Yes, sir. I'm a little guys. I got a little bit of a mental fog going on today because of the how awful that game was yesterday during some stretches. I had a little bit too much wine, so I'm feeling it, feeling the repercussions of it. But we're back. We're better than ever, and I have a clear mind now. Although I am a little groggy, so bear with me, guys. And so yeah, let's just jump right into that game two. That horrible offensive showing in game two.
Well, I guess I will start. I'll get right
Yes,
into it.
you will.
I'll get right into it. I was expecting us to lose this game.
Really?
Yeah, I think Kawhi being added to the roster, as most of Clipper Nation knows, Kawhi has been out for about a month now.
Missed game one.
He missed game one, and he finally returned in game two last night on a Tuesday, and he just didn't do well. He ended the game with
definitely some rust.
Yeah, he ended the game with 15 points. I'll just go through the box score. So overall, like Nick said, horrible offensive game from pretty much everyone on the team.
Yeah, just about everybody.
Paul George, 22 points. I mean, he had a decent game, but he kind of got into foul trouble a little bit, which I kind of didn't like.
Yeah, but the officiating's been ass, dude. These first two games, it really has.
I just don't think you can blame the officials on.
It's not why we lost,
honestly. It's not why we lost, but I mean, the thing is refs are going to be refs. You know, they could go your way one game, they can go.
Yeah, but it's the Mavs, bro. It's going to go the Mavs' way this entire time, dude.
I promise you, it won't. Luka got a tech last night.
Yeah, after
he was chirping and crying the entire game.
Exactly, and he only got one tech. He probably should have gotten 7 of them.
No, dude, they're not gonna. The thing is, they're not gonna throw superstars out of a playoff game. That's just not how it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, Paul George, 22 points, 1 block, 1 steal, 4 assists, 2 boards. Kawhi, 15 points, 1 block, 2 assists, 4 steals, 5 boards, and he went 0 of 5 from 3.
Yeah, the 3 ball wasn't landing for anybody.
Particularly 7 of 17 from the field. He was just missing open threes, and that's not something I expect from him going forward. I mean, as any NBA fan knows of Kawhi, he doesn't miss those gimme type shots a lot. So that's why when I was watching last night, I was like, it is what it is. Hopefully he can be better in the next game or within the next 2 games. Zoo with 13 points, 1 steal.
Zoo got in foul trouble early too.
He got in foul trouble early, and that might be why we didn't play him. He still played 33 minutes, but I don't think he played as much as game one. I'm not sure how many minutes he played in game one, but
What it was it was the fact that like he picked up two fouls relatively early.
in the first
Plum had
quarter.
to check in, and the thing is in game one, our bread was buttered early on in the game with
Right,
Zoo post touches, and it
right.
gave us that big momentum shift early on, and that wasn't there in game two, unfortunately.
Mm. And I don't know if you watched or if you listened to Paul George's podcast the other day after game one, but he said that getting Zoo involved wasn't even the game plan. It was kind of something that just happened within the
Yeah,
first quarter, and he kind of they just went with it.
it should be the game plan though. It works.
Of course, I think it should be the game plan up until the fourth quarter, but that's another conversation for another day. Hopefully, we don't have that conversation in this series.
Honestly, I will say to touch on that real quick. I will say on the plays where Zoo's been switching out onto Luca, because particularly in game two, Luca was kind of hitting threes over everybody. He hit a three
Mhm.
over James. He hit a three over Kawhi. He hit a couple over Zoo. But I will say like there has been a difference to me in Zoo's effort and attention to detail when he does switch out onto Luca. Like obviously, there's not a whole lot you can do when Luca's engaged and he's going to hit that shot. But
Mhm.
if Zoo can just kind of keep Luca honest and to the point where Luca's not completely cooking Zoo, and we can keep Zoo on the floor, I mean that's going to be a huge recipe for success in this series. And it's
Yeah,
looked better than years past, in my opinion.
I don't think that Luca's hunting Zoo as much as he used to. I
Right.
have a horrible feeling that that might happen at in like a later game of the series, which would be very, very devastating for us. So that's why I kind of am hoping that in the fourth quarter, and in last night's game, we didn't really play Zoo in the fourth quarter, even though he had three fouls by the fourth quarter. He ended the game with Zoo ended the game with two personal fouls.
Yeah, I
So I
mean
mean,
he didn't pick up any
he
more.
didn't pick up for the rest of
But
the game, and we still didn't play him that much in the fourth quarter. He played 33 minutes in the rest of the team. James Harden played 42, Kawhi 35, Paul George 37.
yeah.
So at the very end, it's kind of like one of those things where I think that Ty Lue recognizes that that might be something that comes later on in the series. But like you were saying, Luca was just hitting every three over everyone. So it kind of
Particularly
didn't really
late.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for the first three quarters of the game, it was pretty much anybody's game. Nobody could
Oh
really
yeah.
gather a lot of momentum. There were a lot of knocks in this game too. Gafford went back to the locker room for like a quarter, ended up coming back out. Tim Hardaway got bumped on a 3-pointer, and I don't think he played the rest of the game. So like a
Mhm.
lot of bumps and bruises in this one.
Yeah,
Um,
we're just playing physical. I think it was a defensive game, and I think the Mavs came into this game wanting to play a little bit more physical, and that's kind of what they did,
And I will
honestly.
say, for the most part, our defense in both games has been really, really solid. That's the reason why this wasn't a blowout. I
Uh-huh.
think that the Mavericks obviously they missed a couple open ones, but I think the defense has. I think that's where the Clippers are hanging their hat right now, and
Right.
that needs to be a huge point of emphasis because,
Oh, of course.
like I said before, we have the guys that, in my eyes, we have the guys that can guard their guys or at least keep their guys humble. When our guys aren't going 0 for 5 from three, they don't
Oh,
have the guys that can guard us. I don't
that's
think.
that's why I'm not worried. Is I don't know if you noticed this in the game, but once Luca or Kyrie had the ball out of their hands and we basically shut them off, their role players couldn't get the ball back to them. It was a turnover almost every time. I kind
Mhm.
of want to see how many turnovers their role players had. Um,
I don't have the advanced stats on that, but I mean, as far
so it
as like,
looks like I mean, as a team had 13 turnovers, Luca and Kyrie both had six. So I guess it was seven from the rest of the team, or yeah, seven from the rest of the team. Uh, so I mean, like I was saying, it was either a turnover or a brick bad shot. Like we said earlier, the game ended 96-93, so it was a low scoring game. Not both teams couldn't really hit. I mean, Luca had 32 points, Kyrie had 23 points. I mean, they're both heavy scorers, and that's what's going to happen. But I think that this was a very defensive minded game. I think that we missed a lot of open shots and a lot of easy shots, where if we made, I think this is a blowout, a big blowout. James Harden went 6 of 14 from the field, 2 of 10 from three. And I just want to say really, really quick one thing about James Harden. All year, all season, I've been preaching for James Harden to become more aggressive. I've been saying that he's been seeming more passive than he should be. And I love the fact that he's taken 10 threes. That's exactly
Yeah,
what I want to see.
me too.
The thing is he's not going to go 2 for 10 every game. Next game, he might go 6 for 10. The game after, he might go 4 for 10. But at least he's attempting, and at least he's being aggressive, and at least he's putting points up on the board. It seems like Luka kind of being who he is and being faced up against James Harden. And I don't know if you saw, Nick, but I mentioned in the group chat that James or Luka is kind of like a baby James Harden. I don't want to even say baby, but it's kind of like
What
what
James
James
Harden
Harden
used to be
was.
in his
Yeah, it used to be.
prime,
So
yeah.
I think James Harden sees Luka and is thinking, you know, Luka can score 32, doing step backs, doing all these, moves that James Harden became famous for. And so I think
Hmm.
that's what's making
That's
James
very interesting.
Harden, a little bit more aggressive, which I love to see. But I do expect us to lose the next game, just because I think Kawhi needs a few games to get his feet, to get his
Yikes.
legs
I hope
there.
not.
I think that I really do. I think the Mavs are going to be scoring. I think they're going to put up a high amount of points, that I don't think that we will be able to match without Kawhi. So I just think that it'll be game four that, I think that from game four on, I don't think we're going to lose another game personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a very real chance that we win both in Dallas. It would be hard
Very
because that
hard.
Dallas crowd obviously is very into it. They get very into it. And Luca and Kyrie have kind of been awakened in a way, especially, Luca hit a three over James Harden to kind of put the game away, and he was yelling at the crowd. And if you read his lips, Luca is a terrible cusser. I think he said fucking asshole, yeah, or something like that. It's just like, obviously it's very like, English isn't my first language. I'm
Yeah,
gonna just scream expletives. But
he was
yeah,
hype.
Luca was amped. Yeah, he was amped up, and so that kind of has me a little bit worried because in game one, which we'll talk about in a sec, we'll briefly go over game one. In game one, he had a good game, but there wasn't that level of swagger that we normally see from Luca in that
Hmm.
one, or from anybody for that matter. We did a really good job of shutting them down. Um, but yeah, I think that's one thing we're going to have to be mindful of going into Dallas, is they're going to be playing in their own building,
Yeah.
and they kind of have a little bit of a swagger. It'll be interesting to see what the status is for their players. I'd be curious to know if Tim Hardaway is going to be playing. Obviously, he's not as big of a factor as he was in prior series because they do have Kyrie now.
Right.
But Tim Hardaway took a little bit of a knock. Gafford's been taking knocks all series long so far. Guys are just getting bumped around a little bit, so I'd be curious to see what the injury report looks like going into game three. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think this was, I wouldn't say an encouraging. It's the playoffs. There's really not anything like there's no such thing as an encouraging loss,
Right.
but it's probably as close to that as we could get because if you just look, and Ty Lue said it in the post game presser, we won every part of the game except for this final score.
No, he's right.
And if you look down the line, obviously we didn't win the 3-point battle. We only shot 27% from three. But if you look at it across the board, our free throw percentage, it was 80-66. The free throws made 21-18, although they did get one more attempt than we did. We were matched up in field goal makes, but yeah, points off or total turnovers we had less than them. Fast break points we had more than them, 10-7 or 17-10. Points in the paint we had beat them by 10. So the process was there. It was really just missing threes,
Mhm.
particularly. And I don't know. I just think that bodes well going forward. And I don't know. I'm pretty hopeful going into Dallas. All things considered, I think that it was good that Kawhi kind of got got game 2 of all games to shake off the rust, because I think it's only up from here the more reps he gets. We do have 2 days off. The next game is on Friday at 5, I believe. So I think there's a lot to be encouraged about. But real quickly, let's go ahead and jump into a more positive scenario, or a more positive outcome, and that was a game 1 victory.
Yep.
That we took against the Mavericks. The final score was 109-97. This one was, I don't want to say surprising, because we know what this team is capable of when they're locked in. But given the fact that we don't normally play well in noon games, this game did start at 12:30. I think a lot of fans were kind of worried. That mixed with the fact that we didn't have Kawhi, I think a lot of fans, including myself, were a little bit worried about this game. But we came out firing from the jump. Best players by far in this one were James Harden and Ivica Zubac.
Oh, yeah.
Zoo is aggressive, and you really got a taste for I don't know, I guess the matchup nightmare that Zoo can be for them in spurts. Daniel Gafford couldn't really hang with him defensively, just based on size and strength. Zoo is taller and stronger than Gafford, and he was kind of bullying him in the post. And they were even sending some doubles sometimes. And the Clippers were, it was the exact opposite of what we saw in game 2. The Clippers were
Hidden,
firing from 3. 4 for 11 from PG, 6 for 11 for James Harden. James Harden had 6 threes. He was lighting it up. Terrence Mann, 3 for 3, super efficient. Amir chipped in with 2. Russ had 2, which was awesome. Shot 50% from 3. Norm only had 1, and I'm going to touch on that in a sec. The fact that we need to see a little bit more aggression from Norm. But yeah, James Harden with 28 points, Zoo with 20 points, super efficient, 10 of 17. 22 from PG. It was a little bit more of a quiet game offensively from PG, but PG was locked in defensively. Terrence was locked in defensively. Everybody looked really, really good. Russ was great. He was hustling for rebounds. It was just a good game overall, and I think we got up to like a 25, 26-point lead. They chipped into it a little bit in the third quarter, but big win, and it was a great win to take to start the playoffs off. Staples Center Crypto was rocking. The fans that showed up really showed up in a big way. Yeah, it was just a great way to start the series. But one thing I did want to touch on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this game was, I believe we got up to a 26-point lead at one point. Like you said, this was the opposite of game 2. We were hitting everything, it seemed. But I feel like, and you mentioned Paul George, he was really hustling on defense, but I mean, your hot take last week was that Paul George was going to get 35 plus, and
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
I'm not even saying like specifically this game. He still had a good game, but it just feels like offensively he isn't really in his groove within the last 2 games.
Yeah, I agree.
I see that and I think it's because Kawhi wasn't in this first game. I think it's because Kawhi isn't there, and then in game 2, I think it's because Kawhi was struggling so much, and he didn't play.
Yeah,
I guess he didn't have the ball in his hands as much.
Kawhi was basically not there.
I didn't want to say it, but basically, so I think there's a lot of attention on Paul George, and they're guarding him very aggressively, knowing that he doesn't have Kawhi to bail him out, or Kawhi to kind of have his back, and I think that's been impacting his scoring output. But I think that next game, I'm hoping that he kind of puts that as a priority and kind of goes off, because like I said, I think we are going to need to score a lot of points next game. But yeah, overall, I mean, had no complaints about this game. Everyone played amazing. Like you said, they kind of were starting to come back in the third, fourth quarter. I mean, Kyrie and Luka ended the game with 31 points and 33 points respectively. So they were still balling the way they are. I mean, the thing about them too, they're going to get their buckets no matter what. It's about stopping the rest of the team. And I think that's what we did in game 2. So we kind of got to combine these 2 games for I guess the series going forward.
Totally. One thing I wanted to touch on, aside from the huge win and the way we played great, the one thing that stood out to me among a couple other things. But the one thing that stood out to me the most in the first two games of this series is Norman Powell does not look remotely close to the Norman Powell
Yeah.
that we're used to. I don't know what the deal is. For those of you that don't know, Naz Reid did win Sixth Man of the Year today, and Norm Powell a few days ago was asked about not being a finalist in the top three of the Sixth Man votes or whatever. Norm did take exception to it. He said it was bullshit. So I'm wondering, maybe, I don't know if he's kind of in his own head about that, not winning Sixth Man of the Year or getting snubbed or whatever. But yeah, Norm has not looked aggressive at all. In the first game, despite the big win, and he was a +5, but despite the big win, he only had 5 points. In game two, he only had, only had 6. So, the thing with Norm is he's such an important part of what we do, particularly when we go small. He's typically on the floor for our small ball lineups or our death lineup. It's usually Norm, and then Kawhi, PG, and Harden, and then one of our other wings, whether it be Terrence or Amir. And Norm's a huge part of that because Norm is like our best catch and shoot player. He's one of our best shooters, if not our best shooter from behind the arc. And when he's not scoring, Norm's not really a guy that's going to give you double-digit rebounds or 7 rebounds even, or he's not a big-time playmaker. He's not a great defender. So, he's in there to score, and I would love for him to get back to being aggressive. And, Norm, one thing we know about Norm is he loves getting to the free throw line, but he wasn't really even doing that. So I would love for him to get back into his swagger, back into his groove, because even if he gives us, 12, 13, 14 points, we win game 2 and we look like a lot better team. We can rest our guys a little more. So I would love to see him play a little bit better because I know he can. He's been doing it all season long. He's been like our most reliable player for most of the season. So I'd love for him to get back back into his groove as far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, not really much else to talk about in game 1. It was a great win. Season is split as we head into Dallas. Excuse me. Yeah, series is split as we head into Dallas. It's going to be tough, but I think that the Clippers can make something special happen here in Dallas. Yeah, here's to taking at least one win. Rolla says that we'll probably split it, losing the first game, winning the second one. I think I'm just going to go out and say it. I think we win both because I think it's really important that we do. I'm not saying it's a make or break, but heading back into LA and winning a best of 3 series, we can obviously do it, but I would love to try and end this quickly and, get some time to get Kawhi back into shape, on the days off. So I don't know when we'll be doing our next episode. Like I said earlier, there's a game on Friday, and then I believe another noon game, game 4 on Sunday. So we'll probably get to you. I will probably get to you. Rolla's going to be busy until Wednesday, so I'll probably get to you right after that game 4. Do a quick pod on that, hopefully with good news to report. But yeah, guys, the series has just begun. The Clippers, despite having a tough shooting game in game 2, I really like what I've seen from the team for the most part, especially defensively. So hopefully we can kind of continue that process defensively,
as they say.
Exactly. And hopefully the offense comes. I don't know what you think, Rolla, but I don't necessarily think that the shooting can get any worse than it was game 2. So
I think we see a different
I think
team
that if we kind of hit our averages. Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Rolla? Or you want to get out of here?
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. A lot shorter than the normal episodes that we do, but I think that's going to be kind of how we're going to do it going forward if we get to a second round series, and then we'll have a little bit of a longer episode for you. But until then, we're going to keep it short and sweet, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As Rolla said up top, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, of course, YouTube. Get at us on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. Let us know what you think of the pod. Tweet at us. And we'd love to hear from you. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully we can get at least a split here going into Dallas. But until then,
Go Clips.
go Clips.